Hello everybody, I hope you're doing well today. I'm making a short video today, hopefully it's kind of short, where I've actually been asked, and I've seen a couple different other videos on the subject about a certain subject that a lot of game collectors and a lot of people that are into retro gaming are kind of tackling right now. And you know, the main question really is, what's the reason behind the current state of game collecting in 2021? That's kind of a general broad, what's the reason, a general broad question. And I think the current state of video game collecting in 2021 is that prices are high. Obviously, we all can see it, and if you're watching this, you know, months and years down the road, I'm not sure what the current state of game collecting is then, but right now, you know, about a year and some change after COVID had started, we're facing a lot of inflation for game prices. Whether it's, you know, a bubble that's ready to pop, nobody really, you know, can guess that. Personally, I don't think it is. I think that naturally video games and a lot of that kind of electronic media collection, the value is just going to keep going up. Personally, that's what I think. But why the big increase? Why the big inflated prices that we've been seeing? And you know, there's a few reasons. I think it's a very complex issue, and there's not really one attributing factor to it. And I mean, I'm just gonna kind of go through a couple of the notes that I have here that I quickly jot down when I was faced with that question. And you know, there's a bunch of different factors. Right now, I believe there's more people in the hobby of video game collecting, especially retro game collecting. Let's say, I'm just gonna throw it, you know, like Xbox 360, PS3 generation and back. You know, some people's definition of retro collecting is different. It's like, you know, like pre-PS2, PS2 and back. But anyways, just in general, prices are up. And there's a lot more people collecting it. There's a lot more people that are, you know, throughout the years, either sharing it with their kids, they're getting back into it, they are, for whatever reason, they're really getting into the hobby, and they weren't before. And that's every single day. You know, more and more people that didn't get to experience these games when they first came out, or they're revisiting a collection that was long gone after they sold it years ago, they're getting back into it. So naturally, that will create a price increase because there's more demand. And with a lot of those games, maybe somewhat PS3, and again, that kind of the cusp retro, because there were digital titles then. But before then, you know, you have a limited amount of physical media. You know, there's scratch discs that are exiting the market, so to speak, on a daily basis, a minute by minute basis, and they're getting junked. And you know, you have that more people getting into it and less supply, you know. So yeah, the prices will definitely go up as supplies are more scarce. I would say too, I've been seeing this across the board with almost any kind of collection, you know, whether it's home media, you know, for videos, or Pokemon cards, or oh man, just pretty much anything that you can collect. You know, shoes. Prices are going up across the board, and I think it's just people are more and more people are getting into the hobby. Whether you feel like, you know, there are more people with more time on their hands, or more people with disposable income on their hands, that could be a factor. I'm not sure if that's the reason across the board, because some people are worse off than they were this time last year financially, so I don't know if that's certainly true. But that being said, you know, collecting in general, the prices have gone up across the board. Just from what I've seen, there's, you know, things that people were not collecting as much, or there hasn't been of a focus on as much, are exploding again. Again, going back to like Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Magic cards, that's always, you know, been in demand at some point, but prices are gone up for a lot of those. Just look at, you know, some of the raids on like Walmart and everything for all the different Pokemon cards that they're going to be cracking down on. But it's up across the board, not just with video games. So it is following that trend. I think another thing too is when you add in those other factors, right? And more people are getting into it, and there's more nostalgia for it, especially the fact that, you know, the more that time goes on, you know, the more that there's going to be more content, you know, more nostalgia content coming out. There's going to have a lot of more articles. They're going to have a lot more of these YouTube videos up of people like me, way more famous people than me, making these YouTube videos, and that's going to create more of a demand for it, more popularity. People are going to be like, oh man, I remember that crazy article that person showed off of GamePro in June 1996, and man, that was the future, and I really want to get back into it. And you have, like, honestly, the wall of games trope for YouTubers, that, you know, you see the wall of games, say, oh man, this is my collection, and, you know, people see that and they're like, man, I think I can do that. I can get into the hobby, and wouldn't it be fun to have my own wall of games and that stuff. So there's that factor of, you know, media, including YouTube, and, you know, all that good stuff, where they're just bringing out more in the forefront. There's more and more videos every day of it coming out, like this, where you see this content. And I'm going to make a little side note. I think that the psychology of having the wall of games behind you in a YouTube video, it does kind of create that sense of want, of desire, you know. Honestly, like you look at any YouTuber, you see like the cool blue lights, and you see like the streamers and stuff. They got all the cool stuff behind them on their wall, and it's all very engineered. Like this is a wall in the corner of my room that I put up because I love to display my games, just, you know, before I go and play them and whatnot. And I haven't had that space before, but yeah, I mean, I have my Sonic collection here, and I've got, you know, Dreamcast and all that stuff. But the psychology behind as well, I believe, is that you see this wall of games and you're like, man, I want to have that, you know. And that's kind of driving the subconscious of people to go out and get these games as well, is because I want to build that collection. I want to be a part of that that group of people. And you know what? For a time there, I was kind of hooked as well. You know, I saw the wall of games, and I'm like, man, wouldn't that be cool to have my own wall of games? But just again, another little side note. These games, and I would say 95% of the stuff that you see behind me is stuff that I've had for, you know, 10 to 20 years or so. There's some stuff that's newer in my collection, like a couple of the Sonic variants that I have on my wall are kind of new, just because that's what I'm focusing on a little bit more of my collection. But most of the stuff I've had this stuff for easily 10, 20 years. There's some stuff that I've kind of filled in probably on the newer end of 10 years ago, like some TurboGrafx and 3DO stuff, and maybe some Saturn filler here that I see locally. But I would say 95% of it I kind of picked up because I'm a big Sega guy, and most of this stuff is Sega. I would say I've got some Nintendo stuff as well, but for me that's the stuff that I've always enjoyed. And it wasn't really more of the I need to have that wall of games, is I have this stack of games that I've built up over 20 years, 25 years or so. Yeah, I'd say about 25 years now, that, you know, I would like to show off. And hey, by the way, you get to see them in the back of my video, so I think it looks cool. I think every other wall of my room that I'm filming in would look like crap, so I choose to film with this wall of games. But anyways, I digress. I feel like the psychology of the wall of games and in those, you know, popular YouTubers, it does have a little bit of an effect. I'm not going to blame them or anything. I mean, you know, we're all part of that problem, but I think it's just fun. It's fun. It kind of entices people. So that's my own thought. One of the cool things too is that in the past, I would say 5 years, I'm just going to throw it out there, that number, but there's been a lot more technology and a lot more creative solutions by enthusiasts in the hobby to replay these games, whether it's clone systems or mini systems, Raspberry Pi. You know, you also have those like a ton of upscalers, the Retro Tinks, the OSSCs, the Framemeisters, all that good stuff. Where there's better and better ways of playing these games on high resolution screens the way you want to play them. And the enthusiast hobby really has a lot of cool new technology that allows people to play it that way. You know, play it on a big screen, on a CRT, however you want to play it. The past 5 years, there's been a lot of new technology, a lot of new ways to entice and get people back into the hobby. And that itself is exciting because for me, again, kind of going back to my previous point, I haven't really added on to my collection as much, but the main focus of my hobby that I've been really focusing on is getting that game set up where I can plug everything in to one, you know, box. Like I have an OSSC right now, and I'm looking to get the Retro Tink 5X when they come back in. But anyways, that cool, you know, being able to plug everything into one TV with these newer cables, you know, using RGB SCART and having that experience. And now, you know, I can also have the setup where I can split that connection, run it to a capture device, and be able to stream that stuff. It's so exciting. Stuff 10 years ago that people were really, you know, you could stream that stuff, you could capture that stuff, you know, 10, 20 years ago, but it's just so much easier now, and there's so many more tools that allow people to get into the hobby and get excited back in the hobby. So I feel like that part of it, the technology, the new technology, or the clone systems, or, you know, the enthusiast hardware hobby is really enticing people and creating a demand, creating a drive for people to be getting into this hobby. And it's exciting. It's really great. So you know, that you do have that other factor of, you know, people like to, and I've used this, you know, in a negative way too, where you have scalpers, you know, where it's essentially the hobbyist community, or people that are involved in retro games, or, you know, people that just want to make money, whatever. They either have these games, they have access to these games, they buy them in lots, and they resell them for a higher price. That's just the nature of collecting. That's the nature of hobbies. When you can turn a profit doing something like that, or, you know, whether it's doing something you love and whatnot, if you can turn a profit for it, that's fine. I mean, that happens, but, you know, that's a lot more prevalent as well, you know, because of the other factors of people getting more involved in the hobby and the better technology, and all those other factors kind of build in on itself, really, you know, just ultimately drive the price up. I don't think it's one thing. I'm not going to blame scalpers and people that are just reselling to earn a buck on the price increase, because that just, I don't think it's just one factor. You know, they're taking advantage of the price increase, which, if you want to make money on it, sure, why not, right? But, you know, that's just one factor. So in essence, I think it's a very complex issue. Do I think the prices are going to kind of burst or go down? I don't think so. I think in certain areas, maybe, you know, maybe attention will kind of wane a little bit. But I think overall prices are going to, you know, probably keep going up. They're, you know, especially with physical media, and, you know, that you know, especially disc-based games where you have disc rot, various factors, you know, in that, and, you know, there's a lot of theories behind that. But, You know, you're seeing it in various media like laser discs. You're seeing it in, you know, like Sega CD and Saturn games, where there's various factors and various types of media degradation, which is only going to drive prices up anymore. So yeah, I think prices are still going to go up. I don't think it's inherently a bad thing, but I think the technology will adapt to that, especially with the larger interest in retro gaming and collecting. You know, you have your you know, your EverDrive cartridges that are really great ways of affordably, you know, being able to get into a collection, or even playing backups of games that you don't want to pull off a shelf. You just want to have one EverDrive cartridge just stuck in your system and turn it on and you're good to go, you know. So I think the technology will adapt. There's a lot of great ways to play games, whether you play it on original hardware, you play it on Raspberry Pi, PC emulation, mini consoles, or whatever. It's a good time to be getting into retro games and to be into retro games, regardless of how you play. But the problem of pricing, if you want to get an original hardware and original software, that's going to be a premium for a while. And you know what? Personally, the way I feel about it is, you know, you play the games the way you want to play them. Don't let anybody shame you. If you can't get into the hobby new and afford all this stuff now, because I'll be honest with you, if I had to start over right now, I would not pay those prices. I wouldn't do it. I would not. I would say, all right, I'm going to get, you know, these 5 games, and I'm going to either, you know, get the systems and get, you know, the EverDrives, or, you know, I would have a good, you know, a good balance. But you know, you play the games the way you want to play them. If you want to play Zelda and you don't want to spend, you know, a ton of money to buy all the Zelda games, and, you know, try to get, you know, hardware that's working. I mean, granted, Nintendo hardware is pretty good, so it's not a big problem. But you know, you want to get in and discover something that either you've played in the past or you haven't ever played before. No shame in emulating, no shame in running it, you know, through an EverDrive or something like that, if you don't want to pay these prices. So I feel like price changes will cause innovation and will help drive more people into the hobby. So I know this was supposed to be a quick rant, and I'm running a little bit of time there, but yeah, I hopefully that kind of answers that question about, you know, the current state of retro game collecting in 2021. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on the subject. You know, if you want to make a video response, or if you want to, you know, put a comment below, just let me know what you think. You know, do you like the way prices are going? Do you what's the best way that or your favorite way to play games right now because of this? You know, what new hardware, what new games are you discovering now, or what games are you playing that you're revisiting from years ago? I would love to know that, and you know, go ahead and let me know down below. And I don't normally ask this, but you know, the more engagement that you have on these videos, whether you like it or you comment or even you subscribing, which would be great. I'd love to hit 100 subscribers, which would be awesome. But all the engagement is positive, and I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to replying with you and bringing up that discussion. So thank you so much, and game on.